for the facilities of Vaikuntha Loka. He wants to return to Goloka Vrindavan and associate with Lord Krishna in his eternal pastimes. Any material happiness is like water in a ditch, whereas the spiritual happiness eternally enjoyed in the spiritual world is like an ocean of nectar in which a devotee wants to swim. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamshcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam The translation again. A person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches? The living entity is actually meant to swim in the ocean. It belongs to the ocean of nectar. And it's in this material existence is looking for that ocean. And that's what we are here. The all strife of happiness, another mayobya sat, is all motivated and driven by living entities' desire to swim again into this ocean of bliss, into the ocean of nectar. That's why when we come to Krishna consciousness, we get a glimpses of feeling that is of feeling at home, just like Vaisheshika Prabhu is saying in this book, Our Family Business. He was just hankering for something. He was really, really looking for something, praying for some guidance. And eventually, this Back to Godhead magazine was left at his door by a friend. He doesn't even know where it came from. And immediately felt at home. Of course, it may not be necessarily experience for everyone, but as we carry on in Krishna consciousness, whether it happens in those beginning stages or later on, as we become purified, we start to get glimpses of feeling at home. This is actually not, as Prabhupada says, not artificial imposition upon mind, is not something foreign to enter our system to kind of try to purify it. But as the purification happens, that feeling of connection with Krishna, the mercy of Krishna, the connection with the spiritual world through spiritual master, it slowly becomes awakened, and we start getting glimpses of it, that this is where we eternally belong. in the more beginning stages, maybe it comes in the form of prasadam. When you have a feast, after you had a feast on Sunday, you may think, actually, could be my home. And for some people, it does become home after having a few good feasts. Then later on, we get some glimpses from kirtan and japa and association of devotees. And we start feeling at home in that kind of protection of devotees, protection of the holy name, protection of sound vibration, of transcendental sound vibration of Krishna Katha. Um, Slowly but surely, and eventually, we should come to the point that we start to realize that actually my home is not this material existence. It is actually a foreign atmosphere for me. I don't actually belong here. I am somehow or another got stuck here for a really long time, for many, many births, but I'm not able to find uh, my home here. My home is in the spiritual world. And we can get further glimpses of that when we hear Vaishnava uh, acharyas singing about the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada explained in Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that those many songs of, for example, of Narottam Das Thakur are like a gateways to the spiritual world. So, like what Sheshika Prabhu was saying, seeing the pictures, that's another way to see spiritual world. The paintings, Prabhupada so painstakingly wanted the pictures of the spiritual world to be painted so that we become attracted. He wanted the holy name spread, so we become attracted to the spiritual dimension. And also those songs, they have as well a windows of a spiritual world. It gives us a little bit of glimpse of what kind of ocean of nectar the pure devotees are swimming. Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and there are some recordings of Srila Prabhupada singing some of those songs, and they are so deep. I believe it's Madhura Naranjini's disappearance day today. It's today she had one very favorite bhajan of Narottam Das Thakur actually, and at one point in my spiritual journey, when this song was sung, it was Antaras actually. Was her favorite bhajan as far as from what I've heard from devotees, and it can give a little bit of glimpse of a spiritual existence and spiritual world when you hear these bhajans, especially if they're sung, by pure-hearted devotees or devotees with a pure intention. They may not necessarily be completely pure, but they have a pure intention. And that revelation by Krishna's mercy can happen to us. So this is the stage of anartha nivritti, is actually how to go through these doubts, um, attractions, distractions of material existence, so that we can awaken the faith that actually this is where we belong. We belong to Goloka, Vrindavana, and we want to be in that association of Krishna, in that association of Krishna's atmosphere of Vrindavan's beauty. Whatever beauty is here in this material existence, whatever we are looking for, it is a spark of Krishna's splendor. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and is sustained just by the spark of Krishna's splendor. But the ultimate beauty, ultimate perfection is in a spiritual world, and not just in a Vaikuntha. This devotee, pure devotee, is not even attracted by any position in Vaikuntha, but to speak about this material world. But it is attracted by only by the beauty of Goloka Vrindavan, wants to be in that association, wants to enter back, and that is determination of a devotee to be there, to be an association of Shrimati Radharani, the gopis, Krishna's father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, Krishna's friends and Krishna's servants. This is our eternal home. This is where we belong. This is where we have our eternal identity. This is where all our family is there. In this material world, we're actually are preparing and developing the faith that this is our home. And the more faith we develop, the more we associate with devotees who have that faith, it awakens an intense desire and determination for us to enter that atmosphere. And one of the most powerful ways, apart of course, very quality of hearing and chanting, and really developing deep connection and relationship with the holy name, serving devotees, is also to share Krishna consciousness, because we're so unqualified in this age of Kali that just by sadhana we cannot achieve this highest perfection. We need the mercy as well of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, in order to bridge that gap. So therefore we need to go out and share this Krishna consciousness. But this is what we are actually doing. We're sharing, opening the doors for the people is to experience this Vrindavan atmosphere. And so we need to create a Vrindavan atmosphere in our own hearts, a spirit of selfless service, to create a Vrindavan atmosphere in the temples, in terms of service and association and hearing and chanting and Krishna Katha. And that's what Swasheshika Prabhu was saying about the overspillage. Spill over by serving the devotees fervently engaged in spreading the Sankirtan movement, one catches the spill over from their service, a single drop of which gives one the invaluable gift of placement in Mahaprabhu's transcendental family of devotees. So this is the topic for today is our original pure families. They're in a spiritual world, and we become uh, awakened and enter that family again by sharing Krishna consciousness, by pushing Lord Chaitanya's movement, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, which is his devotional ecstasies. Prabhupada, pure devotee, is always in Vrindavan, always in Vrindavan consciousness. So everything that he speaks and reads, speaks and writes, and the books that are published are carrying that Vrindavan atmosphere, that Vrindavan spirit, by associating with which it awakens our connection and attraction. And the more you attracted to something, the more you want it, and then we lose in the beginning. Of course, we're speaking maybe quite a bit about the miseries of material existence, but it's not sufficient. We also have to become attracted to Goloka Vrindavan, to the beauty of Vrindavan, to this eternal family where we belong. And then these little ponds, or how do you call them in the translation, ditches. It's not even points. It's ditches is something that you can fall in and not able to get out. So the material pleasures of this material world and various types of things, and is mentioned as well positions, and Indra is kind of stuck in a ditch as well, although he's a devotee of Krishna. He's actually stuck in a ditch of he wants to be in that position and he wants to serve Krishna in that position, but it's not allowing him to enter Goloka Vrindavan just yet. And Vritasura is ready; it's completely ready for it. It doesn't have any hope and faith, any aspiration for any ditch of this material existence. He wants to just exclusively go back to Krishna and engage in his eternal service. So that is the determination of pure devotees. So you should not get distracted by the ditches of this material existence, but aim for the ocean. Let's not get satisfied by the drop when you're really, really thirsty, when you're like anything We haven't drunk for a long time and the mouth is completely dried out. Let's not get satisfied by a little drop. You need an ocean, you need to swim into the ocean where we belong. So, are there any questions or comments on this point? Sadakshari Krishna Prabhu's got a question.
And you experience going home then, it's like a feeling of being belonging where you've come from. And Srila Prabhupada wanted all the devotees once a year, preferably, to converge on Mayapur and Vrindavan. It's like part of our sadhana, you know. Part of the sadhana is also to preach Krishna consciousness, not just to be a bhajananandi. And then part of the sadhana is also to go to the holy dham. And when you go, you know, the more you go, the more service you're doing, the longer you've been doing service, the more you feel like this is where you belong. You know, this is your real home. And then we come back here to do what we have to do to earn the privilege of going back to the holy dham and experiencing it again. You know, like a feeling of belonging, really. Like this is where you belong. You know.
Yes. No, it's powerful. People have these sayings, almost like home sweet home, and etc. Is to have a sense of belonging, have a sense of home, having a sense of kind of gives people security and etc. You can see like a people build like massive castles that they call home, but this all gets disappeared at the time, you know, takes everything away. But having that connection on eternal home that nobody can take away from you when you sit down to chant japa, when you sit down to read Srimad Bhagavatam, you're connecting with eternal home, that space of transcendence wherever there's hearing and chanting. This is where Krishna's presence is. And of course, you know, in the beginning, you know, or for a while, we won't necessarily feel that, you know, so much. But visiting the holy dham where Krishna performed his pastimes is definitely very increases our faith. Although personally speaking, I couldn't appreciate immediately, you know, like maybe first couple visits was more like a very purifying, and I couldn't so much appreciate, you know, the mercy and potency. Although that was also a mercy of being there, but you know, last couple times it was like a very, very kind of special experience where you know, staying in Bhaktivedanta Sadhana Ashram at one point, and Govardhan Hill was just across the street. So that atmosphere and spending in that atmosphere, hearing and chanting is definitely very, very potent. So, are there any other comments or questions? Nothing. So I think I'll stop a little earlier because we have a long drive. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.